vegetation points. We'll go to our digital asset, lighter processing, just connect them. So this is what we get. It's from the same region, so it might seem similar. And then we go to digital assets, lighter to height field. Just going to be connecting these two for now. Okay, this is what we get. Let's flatten the borders. So I'm just going to use the automatic version, but we can go to a top view if you want. Let's have a look at in curve. So it gives an error because we don't have the in curve. I'll leave it at automatic for now. And let me just grab a curve. Press enter and draw the curve. I'm going to draw it. Enter, close the curve. And we should have something like this that we can connect there. And now we can flatten borders and use the in curve. That way we get something different. Okay. With that done, we can have a look at what we're getting from the terms of output. So this one we already know, but we can have a look at the scattering trees. Actually, I'm not scattering anything. Not even applied the erosion yet, so let's go to, let's activate that, apply erosion. So now we have applied the erosion, and we can scatter some trees as well. I'm going to grab the trees from the other project. Something's missing here. And what's missing might be the default value. It might just be the default values. Let me check. Here on the scatter trees, our radius. It's okay. It's referencing the other scale. So this shouldn't be happening by default. So we'll need to take care of that. Let me just grab here on the advanced terrain. Just gonna create a, actually, I'll do it this way. Object merge, and I'll grab this. I'm canceling this, switching to manual just so it doesn't take as long. And this is the default value that I want for this. So I'm gonna go to allow editing of contents, type properties, and here on the scattering, on the parameter is the outer radius. So this outer radius here on the channels, as you can see, the default value is something weird that it's not weird, but it's an expression that we don't really want. So I'm gonna keep this at 5, and I'm gonna clean this up as well. Something like this. Apply, accept, save node type, and match current definition. Just means that if I can delete this, disconnect it, and I put this there. And now if we create this from scratch, let's go to digital assets, height field, lighter to height field. And if we connect these two, we should see something like, let me put this back to auto, pretty fast. We can give it the curve, flatten borders based on the curve, apply the erosion. We'll have to wait for it to calculate. It's done. And then scatter some trees. And now that we scatter trees, we can have a look at the trees, which will be much less points. Scatter our radius 5, still too many. I don't know if this makes sense. Outer radius. Okay, the outer radius isn't connected to that, so that's the final adjustment. Let me copy this and go inside, and we'll paste relative references. And now it's going to be okay. Okay, now everything's solved. Save node type. I'm going to cancel this to just disable the auto update. Save node type, match current definition. One more time. I'll disable it, create it from scratch, digital assets, lighter to height field, and I'll turn on auto updates, and we'll connect this, this for now. Okay, everything's here. Let's flatten the borders. Say it's based on curve. Apply the erosion. So it's fast. The grid spacing is pretty low, so the erosion happens really fast. And let's scatter some trees. If we're scattering trees, then we should have this and the trees being scattered. Okay, and this is the proper density, and now we can actually scatter the trees. And final output, final digital asset, height field to game asset. Let's test this one out. So this just takes this, and we'll set the asset name to be Alaska. Say it's Alaska B. The output path, we can go to hip file, render, accept. I don't know why it keeps doing this, doubling the render, but that's something we need to take care of. Otherwise, it's just gonna create another render folder inside the render folder, which is weird. But let's have a look at the height field. So this is the height field being generated based on those parameters. We can control this as well. We're not considering trees. That's why we're seeing so much rock. It's actually an interesting look, I think. But if you want to consider the trees, just turn that on and we should see trees. Now the trees didn't seem to do much. Okay, so I know what's happening. I figured out what's happening. It's actually obvious, but I didn't predicted this, but I understand what's happening. So remember when we said that every change we make needs to go back to the erosion again? Meaning if we change something that's happening before the erosion, then we need to take that into account. And I think that if we refresh the erosion now, if we reset the simulation, we now have the trees included. The problem with that is because we're actually turning on the apply erosion before scattering trees, and the erosion is happening before we're telling the digital asset to consider the trees input, and that causes the erosion to be done without the trees, and whenever we turn it on, the erosion would need to be reset. So the easiest solution for this, I would suggest, is to flip the order of this. So we'll flatten the borders, scatter trees, and then apply the erosion. And that'll guarantee that we don't need to reset the simulation before. So here on this asset, I'm going to go to type properties. And I'm going to change, just change the order of this. So these are going to come down here. And the apply erosion is going to come below. Apply, accept. Not a big deal, just a subtle change that'll force the order things are done is proper, so that we don't need to just reset the simulation. The fixes would be just to reset the simulation here, and it would be fixed either way. But this way, we should be doing it correctly from the start. So I'll save node type, match current definition. And now we should be good to go. We can even give it one more try. So go to digital assets, lighter to height field. And now if we create a new one here, connect the same inputs here, pretty much the same thing. So flatten borders based on the curve, scatter some trees. So take those trees into account. We can have a look at them right now. Okay, we already have trees being scattered. There's no problem in us scattering the trees before the erosion, because the erosion isn't actually changing much of the terrain. It's basically just for us to generate those extra layers from the erosion. And we can, where else am I missing something? So yeah, turn on the erosion. We'll get the erosion and all those informations. And finally, so this was okay. I don't need to worry about this. So I'm just gonna match current definition. Don't need to worry about that. And here, now we can consider the trees or not. Okay. If you consider the trees, we're gonna get a lot more grass and coverage, but this will match better if we go to the high resolution mesh, or this is the high resolution mesh, and this would be the game asset, which isn't generated yet. Okay, we don't have maps for this, so we would need to press the button, save FBX and textures, and we get an error. Okay, so the problem wasn't actually on this HC8, it was actually on the previous one. I had a visualize node that was active, so it was displaying. Imagine I had a height field visualize coming from here or something, and this was what's being displayed, and that was generating that error. As soon as I deleted this one, made sure that there was one of the outputs that was actually being displayed, the ROP-FVX stopped giving out that error. In the meanwhile, I also deleted a few attributes here just to clean things up, because I was grabbing things from here. I did had some primitive attributes that weren't really needed. And the other thing I did, so no more attributes, just point attributes, position and UVs. This is kind of optional if you want to convert the UVs to a vertex, the traditional vertex attribute. You can. I just used an attribute promote to convert those. And that's basically it. So I'm going to make sure that the output is what's being displayed going out. And let me to match current definition. And on the other one, I'll do the same. Save node type, match current definition. Now, on the next lesson, we'll finally go to Unreal and have a look at some of the assets that we can generate with these HCAs we created, and have a look at them inside the game engine. So see you on the next lesson.